Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to the August 14th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America and to the republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have the entire board present. We will conduct business as published. Call the meeting to order at, make it 7:36. Wrapping up a pretty good study session, so we're making a lot of progress. With that, we'll move into tonight's agenda and begin with additions or deletions to tonight's agenda. And I'll turn over to Mr. Trustee Bloetscher for the first.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I move to add to the consent agenda 6, appointment of Teresa Weeks to the Greenways Open Space Committee for the term 2019 through 2022.
Second.
Yeah, I'll give that support to Mr. Nelson. So moved by Trustee Bloetscher, second by Trustee Nelson. So the consent agenda add. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. I'll introduce the next one. This will be added to action items. It'll be action item number 8. I'd like to add a revision to the board's business meeting schedule. Okay, I'll give that one to Mr. Budny. Those in favor of revising the business schedule as an action item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And as a defense mechanism, in case that action item doesn't pass, I'd like to add as action item number 9, authority to pay bills through October 25th. Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by treasurer. Those in favor of adding that, if necessary, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, none offered. Those in favor of approving tonight's agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it is so amended. With that, we'll step into a presentation. Ms. Sukockas. Angela.
Pull this up if you don't mind. Is it?
Normally, this is where I'd introduce my skills in stalling, but
No, well,
I
it's
don't-
not.
I don't have much I can do from here. That's stalling?
Oh, it's stalling, no. Installing.
Nope. No, I had the CPU on earlier, but it's not on now. So, I'll get started while it's pulling up. So I have a presentation. It's about that time for the second semi-annual DDA TIF update. So as a reminder, in May, I think it was May 13th, I came up here and discussed kind of what the DDA does, where the funding comes from, and some of the things that we have done. As part of the revision on Public Act 57, DDA directors are required to do this in a public forum. Among other things, we need to report several financial projections and a summary from the previous fiscal year within 180 days. And Ann and I have worked on completing that and thankfully handled that through September. We were due in September 30th. And the first presentation was in May. Generally speaking, I have the opportunity to get up here often and talk about the DDA, but it's not always the same in other communities. And we're not televised, so it gives us the opportunity to come up here every few months and say, you know, this is what we're doing and how we're spending the TIF dollars. I'm still having trouble here. Brian, do you have any idea? This computer was on earlier, but it's not, oh, here we go. Here we go. I mean, I can wing it, but here. I can do a little song and dance. I mean, I don't have any issue with that. Right, exactly. So basically, the first few slides are just a repeat of what I discussed in May, tax increment financing and the importance of it. It's a public financing method. It's used as a subsidy for redevelopment, infrastructure, and other community improvement projects. And it's a tool that allows us to do the great things that we've been doing down in the business district, creating the grant program, spending money on infrastructure. The DDA is basically, it's the type of TIF that captures the tax growth, and it's controlled by a group of appointed board members, of which we currently have 7. So we do have 2 vacancies, and if anyone's interested in filling those vacancies, they are required at this point to have either interest in property or interest in a business on Macomb Street. We are not a membership organization. A lot of people, businesses and residents on Macomb believe that, that's how they become part of the DDA, is joining like a chamber or something where they pay a membership fee. That's not how it works. If you are interested and you pay tax dollars on Macomb Street within that district, then you're part of the DDA. And we are not, and I said this before, we're not an event planning mechanism. We do use events as a part, in part and parcel to bring people down to Macomb, but that is not really the goal. The goal is not to plan more events and do more things and have more activities. It's to really take a look at what will do the best at bringing people down and making them feel like they're part of that community, ultimately to drive people to the downtown. And we are not, a division of. We are not supplied or part and parcel to the general fund. We have our own budget, and each year we go through the budget planning process, and we plan on our tax collection projections from the previous year, in addition to what we have held on to over the years. What comprises the DDA area in Groseal? Whatever's deemed the business district from Meridian to East River. And we are going to do some more definitive projects in the future, and I'll get into that once my PowerPoint gets up, on how that's going to look throughout the next year. But approximately 28 single-family homes, over 70 registered businesses. It is over a mile long, and at last count, we have 6 apartments, but I will say that some of the property managers are looking at adding more. For instance, in Midtown Square, where Tasty Freeze is, that is something that Slat's Property Management decided that made more sense for their business. So they added, or I should say converted, to apartment residential living. And we will probably see more of that going forward from some of the business owners and property owners as well. So that right there we go. That's the DDA area. And our mission is to grow, strengthen, and promote the economic health and vitality of our downtown business district on Macomb Street while generating a greater connection with our residents and island guests. We developed that a few years ago. When I became director, we kind of sat down and said, okay, how do we define this? Our board meetings occur every fourth Thursday of every month at 6:30. The public is welcome. And again, PA 57 that went into effect requires us to host 2 informational public meetings, submit specific financial documents, and send a copy of our current plan of record. Here is the list of current board members. We do have a few that are citizens at large, and the rest have to have interest in property or business on Macomb. And then I am the staff member, part-time director of the DDA.
Angela, where do you hold your meetings?
Right here at the conference room on the 2nd floor. So just as a quick summary, this is kind of what I went over in May. The 18-19 fiscal year progress we made were infrastructure cement work, electrical water service. We repainted the lamp posts, which was a big project because there's 70 of them. Economic development, we did a few ribbon cuttings, enforced appearance initiatives with the fire department and ordinance officer, decreased vacancies, and awarded grant funding to 4 applicants. We did host a resident survey in partnership with Public Service Credit Union, which was interesting. We engaged in social media and print publications. We represented Grozeal and the DDA at several workshops and conferences, and we produced numerous events, both standalone and in partnership, to bring the community to the district. Some of the notable progress we've had since May until now, we've funded 2 more grant projects, one at Lloyd's and one at River Oaks Realty. We are still working with current property owners on some land acquisitions, property improvements and maintenance, and new business. We worked with Patton on the Ritz as she celebrated 15 years in business on Macomb Street, which I think is awesome. And we're going to work on a program that recognizes several other businesses that have been here for a very long time, because I think that's important. A lot of residents say it's tough to do business in Grozeal, so we want to show them that it's not all that tough to do business in Grozeal. We collaborated with the Grozeal Fire Department on banners, which was a great addition. Represented Grozeal interests at various meetings, the Michigan Downtown Association, the Michigan Economic Development Association, Destination Downriver Coalition, which is a really cool group that I think we're going to see a lot of neat things from going forward. I'm proud to be a part of. And the DDA Downriver Network. I completed a 3-day economic development course certified by the IEDC, the International Economic Development Council. And we had a little fun, Mr. Loftus and I, hosting Senator Stephanie Chang in person and Facebook Live as part of the Visit Your Downtown Challenge. She was a good sport about that. She and I, neither of us like Facebook Live, and we managed to muddle through it. It was good. Let's see, we had several events from May to October. I'm going to work backwards, Paint the Town Red. We just had, not that long ago, on October 4th and 5th. We had about 40% of our businesses participated in some way, shape, or form, decorating and doing handouts during the parade. We had 15 market vendors. We had a great market day on the 5th. Beautiful day, and I did send out a survey about, I think 9 of the 15 responded to the survey of the market vendors. 100% of those people said that they would definitely recommend the market day to friends and colleagues, and 68% of them rated the event excellent, while all the remaining rated it either very good or good, which I thought was awesome. And we had several hundred attendees between the scavenger hunt, which estimated at about 100, and I would say we probably had 350 throughout the day. It was really a well-attended day. It was a nice event. Let's see, market and music on Macomb. We included a kids' day this year. We had Mirror Image was entertaining, and Rufus the Doofus, and I worked with Pam Frucci and the Arts Alliance on that. They did a great job setting that up. And we look to do more things like that in the future, kind of bring out variety in the crowd. We had 2 movie nights, and we included food trucks and musical entertainment this year, also very great and well attended. And we plan to do more of those hopefully next summer. We've got a system figured out now. A lot of people don't realize the Island Fest Parade. We work in conjunction with the Recreation Department, and we pay about $3,400 each time we do the Island Fest Parade for the entertainers that require payment, so that we can keep that parade on Macomb Street, which is what we want to do. And the Garden Club Flowering in Macomb, we do that every year, and every year we try something different. But we contribute, the DDA contributes about, in total, about $5,500, I think, with staff watering and plant material. And the Garden Club is a great partner in that program. Let's see. Current projects that we are working on and through 2020. We're working with the DPS to complete some cement work and repair, and our contractors for landscape maintenance. We are doing a big lamppost LED swap out where we're combining these drivers, or they're a combined driver as opposed to separate units to make it easier and cheaper going forward. So just kind of upgrading all of our LED lights. I think he's done 16, and we just purchased the last 52, and he's housing those, and we'll get ready to switch those out as the lights go out. We also are working on our downtown specific website creation, but the one thing that we're working on right now that I think is really cool that I'm excited about is this public improvements and design enhancement project. And that's where we're going to take our mile-long street and really pull it together. We're going to look at some Lions Park development plans, add in some wayfinding, and an art installation, just some overall design enhancement and division of the street so that it has a better feel. And this will be a plan that will take place over the next several years. We are interviewing planning firms at the end of this month, and we will hopefully have a selection made in November and get started on the plan process right away. And we're really looking for, kind of adding that uniqueness to the street. Upcoming events that we have, I know I said we're not all about events, but we do have a lot of them. So on October 26th, we'll have the Halloween Parade and Trick or Treat in conjunction with the Recreation Department. And again, this year we'll have the Pumpkin Palooza at the Commons, which is with the Reverend Edward Aller Foundation and goes toward the scholarship. That was a nice event last year, too. On November 15th, we'll have the Ladies' Night Out, the 4th annual. We already have a lot of excitement going on, and the bag is going to change a little bit this year, so I'm sure all the ladies will be lining up. November 30th through January 3rd, if you have not considered it, consider sponsoring a Lights at Lions tree display. It's $65 to participate, which is incredibly cheap compared to many other communities that have done this in the past. But we really want to encourage as many trees and as many sponsorships as we can, especially because we have the lighting and the electrical down there this year. So it should make it easier. Island Glow is December 6th on Friday, and we are going to try something new called a chocolate walk. February 8th, which will take place on a Saturday, and more from that event, more about that event to come. New for fall, the Macomb Monday Milers Initiative. So hopefully we can get some people out there on Monday walking our mile-long stretch of road. If there's any questions, my name and number are up there. I'm extension 253, and my email is nice and easy, Angela S. And that is it, unless anybody has any questions.
Angela, I just have a couple of questions related to your presentation. You had talked about the grants, and one for Lloyd's and for another organization. Do businesses compete for these grants, or do they simply apply and then the board decides? And what are some things that these grants can be used for or are used for?
So it's an application process. It's a continuous application. We purposely did not do a deadline or a competitive grant at this point in time. We started out with $20,000 budget, and we have increased that another $10,000 for this year. So we have $30,000 in the line item on the budget. Lloyd's was assisting with exterior paint and caulking, and the building on the one, all of the exterior walls received painting, but especially on the wall nearest to Kroger needed some work. So, and that helped with, kind of his climate control and just the overall appearance. River Oaks Realty, that was for signs, and that was something that we had actually looked at doing when Dr. Khaled was done improving that property so that we could make it more retail-oriented, retail-based, and those are signs that are interchangeable. So if at any point, which we hope River Oaks is here to stay, but if they're at any point they are not, then we can keep those signs on that property, and it makes it easier for the space to be leased and to go out. We've done some cement work. Let's see, Groseal Hardware was a recipient of a grant about a year and a half ago, and they did some considerable cement work on the outside, and so the bakery really benefited as well in that parking lot and on the side, and the appearance from the street is improved as well. So we have terms for the grant in terms of what kinds of applications can come our way. We've had some creative ones, we've had to turn away a few, but for the most part, we've been able to support most of the grant requests. We do ask, for full disclosure, so, in any money that they've spent, especially if it's a new business going in or if it's an existing business, if they've done recent projects, so that we can kind of weigh how much they're asking for. And then we go through the review, and then the board decides. So
Wonderful, actually. It's just a total benefit for not just the business, but the community at the same time.
And it is maxed out at $5,000. I don't know if I said that yet. So $5,000 is the max award based on what they're requesting.
And I just have one more question. When you're doing the Macomb Street improvement project, will you be seeking public input, or will this be the board, the DDA, working with the design consultant that you choose?
I think at this particular point in time, we are going to gauge what the planning firm that we choose, what their best advice is. I know the bids that I've looked at, some of them recommend it and have done these in the past, you know, in that fashion, and others did not have that as part of their proposal. I do think there is some benefit. I also feel like as the DDA has moved forward in the last few years, I feel like we have a pretty good gauge on what the public wants to see, I think. So I guess we will take some input. I think we will also ask in terms of the Lions Park plans. We've talked about asking for input from some groups that will be using it more regularly, we hope, such as the Rotary. We've talked with them about having some kind of representation in that plan. So, but really that's more to come, I would say. Yeah. Yep.
Just two quick questions, Angela. Number one, November 15th is the Ladies' Night Out. Any correlation between that and the opening of deer hunting season?
Yes, there is. Yes.
And secondly, the Meridian side of where Kathy's Cafe is located is still that ugly yellow. Is there any idea about painting that the same color as the other side?
Yes, I have lots of ideas, but yes, I'm working on that.
Thank you.
And the tape roll too. That was part. That was mentioned on social media recently. We're working on that. There's tape where it's coming unrolled at the east end of Macomb. So if you haven't driven under it lately, please take a drive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ms. Sukockas? Tom?
Yes. The LED project, relamping project on Macomb, appears to be, it's a very large project. Now, is that coming out of the DDA's budget? So there's no township money involved with that? Because I remember when they were put in, thought they were going to last forever.
Right, and we're getting to, I think, the end of forever because they keep going out. So,
So this is just the lighting fixture itself. It's not the entire lamp post.
Right. We've replaced some lampposts, but mostly from damage or accidents. Yeah, they've been hit by trucks and cars, and so we've replaced some of those. And we always have one or two in stock lampposts, but these are the actual lighting units. And really, I think, you know, when LED came out, it's just like anything else. These are bigger and better and going to last even longer, so we'll see. But they're a good match for the ones that we have on there now, too. So the lighting's a little bit different, but you'd have to really look at it to tell the difference. So we're just waiting as those ones go out, and we'll replace with the new unit. Yeah.
Anything else? You've been busy. Thank you. All right, back to no second. Okay. All right, thank you, Ms. Sukockas. Move on to brief public comment, limited at this time to agenda items tonight. Okay, I see none offered. Let's move into consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
I'll request approval of consent agenda 19-048, which includes the minutes of the September 23rd, 2019 regular meeting, check register dated through October 11th, 2019, Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Commission resignation, Festival and Community Events resignation, Halloween trick-or-treat hours, and the addition of Teresa Weeks to the Open Space Greenways Commission.
Support.
Okay, moved by the treasurer, seconded by trustee Budny. Those in favor, any discussion on tonight's consent agenda items? None offered. Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. We'll move on to tonight's action items. And this is going to be, we're going to reformat this a little bit. We have a series of demolitions under, property demolitions under request, and they're all basically on the same resolution. I'm going to ask Trustee Budny to read the opening resolution, or the first lines, and then we'll get specific by property numbers if that.
We're gonna, go through the whereases, which are all the same on every one of them, and are now therefore will be the individual action items. So bear with me here. We ask that the board approve the following resolutions. Whereas the township's dangerous building officer inspected the condition of the property at 25486 8th Street on July 11th, 2019, and property 25439 8th Street on July 11th, 2019, and property at 25486 3rd Street in June of 2019, and property at 22883 Meridian Road on July 28th, 2018, and property at 25915 West River Road on April 3rd, 2018, and as a result of these inspections, issued the property owner a notice of dangerous building dated July 25th, 2019 for the first two, December 4th, for the first three, December 4th, 2018 for the fourth, and April 30th, 2018 for the fifth. And whereas no action on the part of the property owner has occurred, and whereas a hearing under Chapter 44 of the Township Code of Ordinances occurred on August 22nd, 2019, and August 21st for the 2019 for the second and third, and February 12th, 2019 for the fourth, and March 20th, 2019 for the fifth, at which, after receiving testimony from the property owner, the hearing officer rendered a decision requiring the buildings to be demolished, whereas no action has been taken by the property owners within the specified time frame allotted for compliance with the aforementioned mandate. Now, action item 1, now therefore be it resolved, the hearing officer is requesting that the township enforce the demolition of the structure and foundation, phase 1 and 2, in compliance with section 44-13 of the Groseal Township Code of Ordinances. In addition, the Groseal Township Board authorizes the Department of Community Development to advertise for bids for the demolition of this property, and authorizes the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated August 22nd, 2019 for 25486 8th Street, parcel number 73 051 01 0053 000, and furthermore to assess the costs as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14.
That's the first one.
That's the first one.
And I guess we're going to the background information. It's going to be the same for every one of these properties. They've been a long time.
Yeah, I'd like to have Derek come up just to make sure that we cover everything.
We're having second? Second. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Second. Now we can go to the second by the supervisor.
Okay.
I think Trustee Budny did a nice job in in going through the motion as it is written. There's 5 properties on the agenda for this evening. Included in the packet was a variety of different notices that hopefully you've all had the opportunity to take a look at. They're all in compliance with the ordinances as written. What's being asked for tonight is confirmation by the Township Board for each one of these properties to move forward as the motion has dictated, and give the township the authority to go ahead and bid out the demo of these various properties. By way of township ordinance, this hearing needs to be held in order to give the residents of these properties, the owners, the opportunity to discuss with the township board the motion that's moving forward. So any of the owners that's in the audience tonight have the authority or have the ability to go ahead and approach you to discuss what's being presented about their property this evening. And then if the township board votes in the affirmative for moving forward for the demolition of these properties, the resident would still then, or the owner would still then have 60 days in order to bring the property into compliance. So there is still a timeline available for the owner to bring it into compliance even beyond the motion that's being asked for tonight. So it would not be an immediate action.
And that's a very important thing that we all these have been around for some time. They've been taking place. We don't want to stop on our end. I don't think we do. The board may have a different idea, but I would suggest that we don't stop on our end, that we move forward on these so they can be taken care of. There is 60 days for the owners to come and bring them into compliance. So it's not a done deal with our moving on these.
We do have a couple other individuals from the township in the audience tonight. Tim Thompson, our building inspector, and Mike Perry, our dangerous buildings officer. So if there are any questions about the conditions of the property, there were pictures that were included in your action items this evening, so you kind of have a feel for what we're dealing with. But specifics about the condition of the property, either one of those individuals would be able to give you some indication about the conditions they're seeing. And then obviously Duncan's been part of the process, so he can speak to the public safety aspect of these facilities. The township is aware of some actions being made by some of the owners towards trying to resolve some of these issues. A couple of the properties have vendors that I think they've either contacted or contracted with to do some demo, but obviously they have 60 days to complete those actions. And if we move forward with the motions for this evening, it still gives us the ability to move in if those efforts don't come to fruition.
Derek?
Yes.
Just to be clear, not for us, but for the perhaps reviewing audience, none of these structures are currently being occupied. Nobody has been evicted or is going to be evicted for this to take place. They're vacant structures at this time, correct?
Currently, yes. One of the properties was a rental, but that renter has moved out. I don't believe they're currently occupying that facility.
I just wanted to be clear for the viewing.
And all these properties have not come without a significant amount of complaint from the neighboring properties about the condition of the properties, the fact that they're harboring rodents, causing problems with property value, and are an unsafe structure. So it's definitely, there's been plenty of complaints about the properties that are on the docket for this evening.
Yep.
Other comments for Mr. Thiel? Yeah, it's all these properties. We did have the photographs, the records of the notifications. We followed all of our ordinance, all the state statutes in attempting to bring these up to compliance. Every one of these buildings represents somebody's hopes and dreams at one point, but they're not anymore. And now they are obstructing other people's hopes and dreams. So it's obviously, to us anyway, just judging by the reports and what we've seen, it's time to move on, get these out of the way, and open up for some better use of that land. So other comments from the board? With none, those in favor of, I'm just going to boil it down to an action item number 1, to proceed with the demolition of 25486 8th Street, parcel number 73-051-01-005300. And furthermore, to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with the Township Code 44-14. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered.
I'm sorry, Mr. Supervisor. We might want to just double check and make sure that there aren't any owners of the properties in the audience and give them the opportunity to address the board, because that is the
Does-
right. within the
Okay, that
ordinance.
was, now, we did open up to public comment on tonight's agenda items, but,
No one came up.
no one, should I reopen that? Thank you, Mr. Sorty. Now we have somebody who wants to comment. So,
Brian, there's a boat in that boathouse. They have to move out of there.
not my problem.
Let's
I know.
just- Are you, the board just made a motion and voted. Are you referring to that particular item we just talked about, or a different one that's further down the
No.
list?
I'm talking about 25915 West River Road.
We
Okay,
haven't gotten to that
Let's
yet.
wait till we get to that
Oh,
one.
we're- that-
Okay, I'm
we're
sorry.
All right,
taking
no, that's
each-
fine,
yeah.
that's
Well,
fine.
that's,
But now I know you're here.
I just wanted to make sure that you weren't here to comment on something we had just made a motion on.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Mr. Budny,
Number two.
pick up where we left
Number
off.
2, now therefore, be it resolved, the hearing officer is requesting that the township enforce the demolition of the structure and foundation Phase 1 and 2 in compliance with Section 44-13 of the Groseal Township Code ordinance. In addition, the Groseal Township Board authorizes the Department Community Development to advertise for bids for the demolition of this property, and authorizes the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated August 22nd, 2019 for 25439 8th Street, parcel number 73-053-01-0074-000, and furthermore to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion among the board?
Any
And
questions?
is there any comment in the public present on 254-398 Street? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of proceeding with the demolition of 254-398 Street, parcel number 73-053-01-0074-00, and furthermore, to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. That will proceed. Mr. Budny.
Now therefore be it resolved, the hearing officer is requesting that the township enforce the demolition of the structure and foundation, Phase 1 and 2, in compliance with Section 4413 of the Groseal Township Code of Ordinances. In addition, the Groseal Township Board authorizes the Department of Community Development to advertise for bids for the demolition of this property, and authorizes the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated August 22nd, 2019 for 25486 3rd Street, parcel number 73-05101-0004-300, and furthermore to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14.
Okay, I'll second that one also. Discussion among the board? Anyone from the public present on property 25486 3rd Street?
Good evening. I'm Jason Mesner, the owner of the property, 25486 3rd Street. And I'm here to try to save the property.
What are Mr. Sorty or Mr. Thiel, what are his options at this point?
Well, there was a hearing with the officer to make the determination. At this point, the determination would be is whether or not they're gonna complete the property, whether it's gonna be done. All of these projects have been some length of time but there's something here. They still, as indicated previously, would have 60 days to bring it into compliance, and that was there. I wouldn't recommend you use this as a negotiating session to see what could be done, because of the amount of time that's been involved and the opportunity for the owner to do something about this previously. But certainly during that 60-day period, if you did pass the resolution, they would have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Thiel to see about moving that forward, and then could come back for further action with the board if that's necessary.
Okay, so we're at the 11th hour on this process.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Mr. Budny.
No, I
didn't
was
mean
just gonna say, we're just
And
gonna
I
listen
understand
to-
that. I've been diligently, since I've gotten the letters, for the last 400 days, the house has been listed for sale. Within the last 2 months, I had a potential buyer with the property, and we had a PA for him to do his due diligence on the property. He came back to me on the 26th of September, told me that he didn't want to go farther with the project. I did meet with a contractor regarding the foundation on the 9th of this month to see what repairs, how much it would, if it was repairable, how much, and going forward with that. So I've got a proposal with him. I'd like to go forward with fixing the foundation and then moving into phases as far as repairing the exterior of the property and making repairs to the interior. There's already been structural work done to the interior of the property, to the integrity of the house, to make sure that it's not going to fall down. I do not have a structural engineer's report, but I don't believe the city does either. I've been told by HomeSpec that the foundation is repairable, that they can put it back into specs and make sure that it stays there, and they're going to give me a lifetime warranty on that with the purchase of doing that work. So I understand it's the 11th hour. I guess what I'm asking for is the compliance part of it. I mean, this is a property, and you've all seen the photos, I'm sure that it's not, this isn't going to be repaired or completed in 60 days. I bought the property basically in the same condition that it was in, and it was vacant at the time that I purchased it. So it was my intention to move into the property. I don't believe that's going to happen, but it is still listed for sale. There is electric on the property. Gas is shut off, water is shut off. The grass is always cut. It's always secure. I've got good cooperation with the neighbors next door, Tom next door. If ever anything happens with it, he'll call me. I'll come out there, take a look at it. So I'm just looking at, I'd rather spend the money to repair it than have you guys spend the money to tear it down.
Well, I think we've liked that all along, but again, I said we're in the 11th hour on this, and this has been how long we've been tracking this, years. I'm going to recommend the board move with the demolition order, but again, you have 60 days to appeal to and I'll let. Well, I won't speak for our legal status. I'll let Mr. Assorti speak for our legal status.
Just so we're clear, it's been declared a dangerous building, meaning even if it is secured, there's a situation that it's an unsafe condition for the public. And I think that all of these that the township has gone through, that's the concern, right? That there's some things while it sits there in its current condition. Nothing would prohibit your approval of the proposal tonight. Nothing would prohibit the applicant from continuing to work with our development group on what's there. Certainly it would not, if they're close, we can work around it as long as the progress is being made.
Right.
Okay, do you understand your status, Mr. Mesner?
Well, I understand that, yes.
Okay, so I'm still going to recommend, we have a motion to proceed on the demolition schedule, but if you can show progress with the building department, we won't demolish it. I mean,
Okay, so this
it'll be Mr. Thiel's.
This wouldn't impede then getting permits to work on the property.
Not to I can't see why it would. No, nothing. The bulldozers aren't moving tomorrow morning.
So just to refresh the township board with regards to the ordinance, you have a motion before you today asking for approval to demolish the structure. By way of the ordinance, the township board shall either approve, disapprove, or modify that order. So if the township board wants to do something other than allow us to demolish a structure and confirm the order of the dangerous buildings hearing officer, you would need to give us direction as far as what you would like us to do other than move forward with the demolition process.
I think we can add a clause that it would be there's a term for it. If we don't hear, the demolition will go forward if I don't hear, if the board doesn't hear from the building department to delay it.
Okay.
Is that,
That's-
do we
that's
all
fair
on the
enough,
same
yep.
page on that?
Whoop.
If you're gonna make any modification, it would be appropriate, and I think, and highly recommended that you have some sort of completion bond, performance bond, something along those lines be presented to the township along those lines.
That would be, Mr. Thiel, a performance bond would be a recommendation? How much of this do I capture, or just the knowledge that, unless certain things,
You could certainly make it subject to the determination of Mr. Thiel, what the amount of the performance bond would be for. He could then work in conjunction with those individuals on it's declared a dangerous building, what would be appropriate and necessary to make it a non-dangerous building.
I'm trying to think how to word this as a motion
Yep.
going, as a legislation going forward. So we're prepared to go ahead with the demolition order.
Yeah.
Pending,
Sorry to.
yeah, go ahead, let's get
Today.
this ironed out.
Something along the lines of, or to secure the property, to the extent that the Department of Community Development, feels that it's addressed the issues that have been presented by the dangerous buildings hearing or something like that. Officer.
You get that, Brian?
Yeah.
One more time.
So something along the lines of the Grosse Ile Township Board moves forward or approves the demolition order unless the homeowner resolves the outstanding issues to the extent that the Department of Community Development is satisfied with the progress or something along those lines.
We'll proceed with the demolition order unless
Issues that are addressed
unless
by
the-
the.
Provided that unless.
community development requests additional time and secures a posting of a performance bond.
That sounds good.
Is that easier, Brian? As long as you got it
Yeah.
captured. Okay,
It'll be there.
so we have a contingency on the motion. I'm sure the gist of it is captured. With that, we'll go to the vote. Those in favor of approving, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Ms.
Well,
O'Connor.
I just want to make sure Mr. Mesner knows now your next job is to work with the building department.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And we've had contact, we've had communication through, I guess, through August. So it's not that I've left them in the dark, but it just has, I've been kind of a catch-22 with another individual who I thought was going to purchase the property. So it's back on my shoulders, and I definitely want to see this come to fruition.
Yeah, it's gonna have, there's going to have to be some progress on the
Definitely,
property
I
itself,
understand.
not just promises.
Have permits pulled by the end of this week for the foundation, and I can lay out in phases, if that's okay with the development authority, to show how we're gonna progress and come up with some
Certainly, yeah,
timeline.
the structure itself, the outside is
Right.
a big
Yes,
problem.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to read, any other comments from the board? I'm going to read what I think the motion would be. And let's see. Those in favor of authorizing the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce a demolition order dated August 22nd, 2019 for 25486 3rd Street, parcel number 73051010004, unless community development requests more time and demonstrates a performance bond has been posted. And furthermore, to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right. Ball's in your court, Mr. Mesner. Thank you. Mr. Budny.
Yes, number 4. Now therefore be it resolved, the hearing officer is requesting that the township enforce the demolition of the structure and foundation, Phase 1 and 2, in compliance with Section 44-13 of the Grosse Ile Township Code of Ordinances. In addition, the Grosse Ile Township Board authorizes the Department of Community Development to advertise for bids for the demolition of this property and authorizes the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated February 12th, 2019 for 22883 Meridian Road, parcel number 73 02501 0112302, and furthermore to assess the costs as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14.
Okay, once again, I'll second. Where are we in the background on this? It's, again, the same. It's been neglected
And that one
for
that-
far too long.
That's
Questions?
yeah,
Questions or
any-
comments from the board?
Anybody out?
Any comment from the public present? Can't see everybody. So.
No,
Okay,
no hands on this side.
All right, with none offered. Those in favor of authorizing the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated February 2nd, 2019 for
February 12th.
February 12th. Better glasses, Tim. I'm working on it. February 12th, 2019 for 22883 Meridian Road. That's parcel 73025010112 and furthermore, to assess the costs as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will proceed.
And finally, now therefore be it resolved, the hearing officer is requesting that the township enforce the demolition of the structure and foundation Phase 1 and 2 in compliance with Section 44-13 of the Groseal Township Code of Ordinances. In addition, the Groseal Township Board authorizes the Department of Community Development to advertise for bids for the demolition of this property and authorizes the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated March 20th, 2019 for 25915 West River Road, parcel number 730401000700, and furthermore to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14.
Now I believe we had some public comment.
Now I'm
A
here.
second? We need
Oh,
a
I'm sorry.
second.
I was second. Thanks.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank Tim and his cohort in giving me the time to get something done. But this is an unusual property. It's a boathouse. And nobody's been able to work on this because of the high waters. I can't get a contractor out to do anything. Finally, this month, the water's gone down. And I have a contractor. He was supposed to do it in June. We had an agreement. And because of the high water, he couldn't do anything. However, now I think he's going to start either this week or next week to basically rebuild the boathouse. So I'm here to just, say, I understand the necessity of going through this. It's been painful for myself as well as for the township. But hopefully, within 10 to 15 business days, I can show definite improvements. And, as long as we work together, I don't see that I'll ever get to that 60-day period. But when you state foundation and things of that nature, are you saying that you're going to demolish the steel and everything else that's there? And that there won't be any boathouse or docks or whatever?
Yeah, you're getting let me bring up, when were you first cited on the condition that it wasn't this summer, it wasn't last summer, it was the summer before.
It was March.
It was, that's been, I know Tony Gray's been out there a number of times. That place has been, I will say, it's been an eyesore as long as I've lived here. So, but we finally are just trying to take steps to remove the blight. And that's one of the first things people see driving south, in my opinion, on West River Road, is that deteriorating boathouse. The pictures inside are absolutely horrible. I'm surprised that anybody had enough guts to go out there and even get the pictures. But the same conditions that we gave to Mr. Messner will give to you also. If you can show progress in 60 days and put up a performance bond, we will hold off on the demolition.
But in terms
The
of
Corps of Engineers will determine what has to be pulled out. If those metal structures have to be pulled out, if we can keep the dock and not the boathouse, that will be determined. But something's going to be done.
I recognize that, and you know, I'm here based on, you know, saying that I've tried to do the stuff. I tried to get in June, tried to get Chris out there to do this, but because of the high waters and in safety conditions, I couldn't get anybody out there until I had, you know, some decent, you know, weather, and the dock is now above water. And I'm just looking for,
Again, whether we, you know, the 60 days, show progress, get a performance bond, and we won't start the demolition. But it's going to be the same caveat based on what you work out with community development with Mr. Thiel. And I wish you luck, because once that boathouse is gone, you're not going to get, it won't be permitted to ever build
recognize
another
that,
one.
and that's why I want to get it fixed.
So I wish you luck, but this has been a long time coming. So the caveat or the conditions remain: progress within 60 days and a performance bond. Mr. Thiel?
So, with regards to this property, the property owner has pulled a permit for the work. My understanding is that he has a contractor that's nearby that's going to be working towards his home, and hopefully the work will be completed within a certain period of time. My suggestion would be to maintain the 60 days that's provided without conditions. If there is a situation where the property is under work on day 55 and they're in the process of taking care of the issue, obviously the community development department is not going to move forward with a demo if they're in the middle of progress of fixing the boathouse. So in talking with the resident, it sounds like he's very confident that that 60-day period will be enough time to bring that contractor on site and get things moving. So I think we're pretty good with the way that the motion is written, and I
Leave
think
the
that
motion just the way
I
it
would,
is.
that would be my suggestion, and I think that the residents' concerns about the timeline and the ability to get work done, I think we both understand each other. There have been permits that have been pulled, and, you know, if everything plays out the way that the resident has indicated it would, it'll satisfy the community development department, so.
Okay, so you're going to waive the bonding requirement? You're not?
Well, I mean, there is a permit that is required here, but I think in the interest, in the Third Street property, there's talk about remediation potentially, but we don't have permits, we don't have a plan. In this case,
Here we have
do.
permits.
Yep.
Exactly, so I think we're on track to bring it in compliance within the 60-day period, so long as, you know, everything is done as told, or as mentioned to the community development department.
Okay.
Okay, so we can go on. I'm sorry, Ms. O'Connor?
I just want to add, just for the public listening, that the paper trail for this at least goes back to 2017. And I know a lot of my kids used to call it the disappearing boathouse because from the water side, it kept disappearing. But I'm glad to hear that you've got work going, and I hope you get it done.
Okay, well, again, we'll just go on with, again, you have the 60 days. We'll go on with the resolution.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So Derek, this is, a boathouse being different than a land house, obviously. The demolition is different, and I think Supervisor Loftus brought it up. Would it then be up to the Army Corps to decide how much of the steel support structures that is pounded into the ground is removed, or are we talking about removing the entire structure?
Generally, in these situations, it's the demo needs to be done to the extent that satisfies the issue that the dangerous buildings hearing has presented and the dangerous buildings officer has presented. So remediated to resolve those issues. If there's remaining structure that exists that still presents a safety hazard, to answer your question, I believe, yes, that would be considered for removal as well, but to the supervisor's point, I think Army Corps would also be consulted. So, yeah, it does present a little bit of a unique situation.
The pictures in there show not only the building, but the dock itself is haphazard at best.
Right.
putting
There's
a
a
new,
concern
putting a
of
new
flying
deck
debris.
on, putting a new deck on there is one thing. Pulling the supports out is where the
Yeah.
Corps would get involved.
Right, and I don't think we want to leave a navigation hazard out there. Maybe just some dock poles basically at water level or something could present an issue. So if the township would be in charge of doing demo work, we wouldn't want to be demoing it to the extent where it caused another safety hazard. So
Hopefully I mean, it sounds like we were not gonna get there, so hopefully everything will be
And-
brought
and-
up to
And
site.
that is the intent with all of these. It's not the township's position where we want to get into the demo business. That's and get involved in demolitions. We would much rather have the residents take care of these properties and demolish them on their own. It's a lot of additional work for us. It's not something that we would we take very lightly in getting involved in, and also the resident can generally do these for cheaper than what we can do them, so it behooves them to demo these properties on their own without us having to get involved. So we don't take these issues lightly. As you can see, there's a lot of paperwork and a lot of time has been allocated to these properties in order to try to give them all the opportunities in the world to take care of the issues themselves. So
Thank you, Derek.
Just so you know, historically, that was 40 years ago, and we've got the same problem.
Well, you've got 60 days to get it rebuilt again. So,
Good luck.
and we do. We wish you luck. So, but with that, the motion remains. Those in favor of authorizing the township manager to enter into a demolition contract to enforce the demolition order dated March 20th, 2019 for 25915 West River Road, that's parcel 73-040-01-0007-000, and furthermore, to assess the cost as a lien on the property in accordance with Township Code 44-14. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That also carries. Again, good luck on the rebuild project. Number 6 is. That's me. So I'll introduce that. This is Forest Road paving and special assessment Forest Road paving. Recommend that the township approve a special assessment district for the purpose of paving and drainage to Forest Drive. And the petition dated January 3rd, 2019, received by the Township Board along with Supervisor certificate, which I have, pertaining thereto to be placed on file as part of the meeting. Just says, whereas 60% or more of the property owners have signed petitions, the Township Board hereby directs the Township Engineer to prepare preliminary cost estimates for improvements to Forest Drive.
Report.
Okay, it's moved by the Supervisor, seconded by the Treasurer. In background, under Michigan law, townships, municipalities can establish special assessment districts. The requirements are pretty well laid out on the lineal frontage. We have 60% of the property owners have signed the petitions. And I'll read I guess there's a resolution I should read also. But in fact, I'll read it right now and we'll move from there. It's a convoluted process. Whereas petitions have been submitted by property owners for road improvements to the following local road, Forest Drive, and whereas more than 60% of property owners have signed petitions, and whereas the assessing officer has checked the attached petitions for road improvements to Forest Drive, now therefore, the petitions for road improvement to said roads are received by the Grosse Township Board, and the supervisor's certificate pertaining thereto is placed on file as part of the meeting. Further, that the township engineer be authorized to proceed with plans for the improvements, the locations thereof, and an estimate of the cost shall be filed with the township clerk for public examination. So what I'm requesting the board approve is the establishment of the special assessment district and the resolution to proceed with the special assessment district. Questions from the board? We've had these before. It's an opportunity. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, special assessment district, you do improvements, particularly road paving. The residents pay for it. It's attached to their taxes over a certain period of time, and they get their road paved. And they've petitioned. A majority have had a petition paved. We just have to approve and let it go forward. Questions among the board? If none offered, those in favor of approving the petition for the Forest Road improvement with 60% of the property owners appealing. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Thank you. That was much more difficult than it needed to be. And that's yours, Madam Clerk. That's a science. Moving on to action item number 7. I think that'll be yours, Mr. Treasurer.
Yes. The proposed motion is the Grosse Ile Township Board, based on the recommendation of the Grosse Ile Air Force Commerce Park Commission and Air Force Commerce Park Manager, hereby authorize Michael Duker to sign contract 2019-1020 and federal project number B 26-0025-3318 between MDOT Aeronautics and the Grosse Ile Township for rehabilitation of airport's apron. The cost of the above efforts contract shall not exceed $363,000, of which the township share shall not exceed 5% or $18,150.
Support.
Okay, moved by the treasurer, seconded by trustee Budny. And I'm sure Mr. Duker has a lot more information for us.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor and Mr. Treasurer. This is a MDOT Aeronautics project that we are participating in. It's a grant we're getting from them. They're a block grant state, so a chunk of this is federal portion that gets delegated to the state, and they basically hand that out to the airports for projects, and then the state is also kicking in on this project, so we're pulling from a couple different pots. But this is definitely a project I've been asking for, I think, since I took the job here, trying to get some maintenance done. A lot of times it's easier to get funding for some big projects for new developments like our 422 runway or some taxiways and stuff, but sometimes the maintenance monies are hard to get. Basically, this is to reseal our entire airport apron, the common apron out here, where you'd see planes parking in front of our fuel farm. And other than the original gross circle that went around the grass strip in the 20s and 30s, the airport apron is our oldest pavement and still in very good condition. We get what's called a PCI, or Pavement Condition Index study, done by the state every 2 to 3 years. They've rated the ramp in poor for the last 2 times we've had the study done, but the only reason that it's rated in poor is because of all the joint failures that we've had. If you actually go out there and look, and if you've driven by in the summertime, we're constantly battling weeds. There is no basically rubber joint seal left. It's amazing how well the pavement has lasted, and how it's a very thick and strong pavement. There's a lot of aggregate in it from the Navy days. I mean, this is poured in the 40s when the base was up and running. So once the joints are repaired, it'll actually be listed as in good condition according to the state in their estimate. So this is a good maintenance project for us. It will redo all of the joints. I think they blasted out and then put some back rod in and reseal. They've also included some miscellaneous panel replacement in there. We kind of tapped on at the end of the project. We have $20,000 budgeted for all of our MDOT projects this year, $15,000 for this, $5,000 for another. So we're about $3,000 over, but again, they let us throw in a couple miscellaneous panel replacements and concrete on there, and the other $5,000 project we put off another year. So overall in the MDOT projects, we're still within budget here, so everything's on track. We got this in now because the contractors actually we had this budgeted for a this year project, this fiscal year. So the contractor has indicated they're going to be able to sneak this in for us before winter time. We actually may have a pre-construction if this gets approved tonight this week or first of next week. So hoping to move it along pretty quickly and try to get it in here before winter.
Okay, we all know what happens when you don't maintain concrete.
Right.
Questions, comments for Mr. Duker, Mr. Treasurer?
We have about 4 bad areas where we got some concrete breaking up.
Correct.
That those part of the pads that you're going to replace?
Yep, I would assume so. I mean, I can confirm and make sure we're talking about the same ones. But yeah, the engineer will study it.
They're pretty obvious. I
right.
mean, as you're driving through there.
And those we worry about, as concrete deteriorates, it creates stone, what we call FOD, foreign object and debris on an airport. We need to be very careful with that, and jet engines. Propellers as well. We've gotten a couple of propellers actually dinged recently around the T-hangers and some other stuff that makes damage.
Thanks,
yep.
Other comments for Mr. Duker? Keep the airport in good shape. Okay, with that, those in favor of, based on the recommendation of the Grosse Ile Airfield Commerce Park Commission and Airfield Commerce Park Manager, the Township Board hereby authorizes Michael Duker to sign contract number 2019-1020 and federal project number B-26-0025 2019-3318 between Michigan Department of Transportation Aeronautics and Grosse Ile Township for the rehabilitation of the airport's apron. The cost of the above referenced contract shall not exceed $363,000, of which the township share shall not exceed 5%, or $18,150. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Well
Thank
done, Mr. Duker. Okay, this is my request. Action item 8. Request the following revisions to the Board of Trustees business meeting schedule. Reschedule the 28th of October meeting to the 4th of November and cancel the 25th November meeting.
Report.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by the treasurer. And this will also include, well, I'll get into the background. The finance director requested the supervisor be present for the budget audit, which he will be doing at the November 4th meeting. And now that the audit's finally back and we finished in the black. Anyway, I've requested these just so that I can be there as the man who develops the budget, although Ann does most of the work. Additionally, part of this motion, we want to extend the authority to pay bills through the 1st November through 2019. That's just an administrative function. So, any discussion among the board? Thank you for bearing with me on this. Those in favor of rescheduling the 28th October business meeting to the 4th of November, canceling the 25th November meeting, and extending authority to pay bills through the 1st November 2019, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered? Thank you. Well, those changes are so made, and this makes action item number 9 unnecessary, so we don't even need to bring it up. Okay, with that, we concluded tonight's action items. Move on to the clerk's report. Madam Clerk.
Thank you very much. Just a couple of things to get started. Prior to this meeting, the Township Board had a study session. We have a number of topics on the communications agenda. The part A and B of our agenda had to do with discussions surrounding the future of police commission and fire commission meetings, whether they should be televised or not. These discussions are pending because the police commission and the fire commission are going to hold their own study sessions, and then once those have been done, we'll be in conjunction with the Township Board. They will be working alongside Township Attorney Assorti so that they can balance the information and make a recommendation to the Township Board. The other part of this conversation has to do with transferring the duties of the communication director, Ted Fournier, who retired earlier this year, and that are currently and have been and are currently being performed by Deputy Clerk Brian Friel. And he is going to give us an update on some of the things that you'll be seeing coming forward. One is the beginning of Grosse Ile Civic Web, not to be confused with the Civics Association. This is the Grosse Ile Civics Web, in which you will be able to find minutes and archived minutes and streaming video of Township Board meetings. We are able now to have our packet essentially online through this, and Brian is able, as the meetings are being recorded, being able to tab the meeting so that when you go back to watch the meeting online, you'll be able to tab to the point of the meeting that you wanted to watch. But now I'm making this needlessly complicated, and I'm going to hand over to Brian so he can kind of give everybody an update on this and a few other things that are going on.
I wanted, just before you start, Brian, I wanted to comment that today was the first day the board was operating under the new format on the electronic packets, and we fumbled a little bit. I think overall for a whole new format, we did okay. We got the job done. Well,
we're doing pretty good so far, but there's obviously been some fumbles with the entire process so far. Even
Flattery will get you everywhere.
Well, even tonight with the YouTube video, it didn't start on time. The live button didn't click on, so we missed probably the first 4 minutes of this meeting, which means tomorrow I have to upload the whole video back on, so you have a full one on YouTube. I apologize for that. But with this new portal, YouTube has now become mandatory. With that, we are down with no archived videos at the moment. That will be a few weeks. I've already gotten the full package of videos and sent it to the new provider. They are supposed to be getting back with me on Wednesday to kind of map out how this is going to go and how long it will take for them to get. We had a lot of archived videos, so it's probably going to take them a little while to get that set up. I don't think they're used to having that many different commissions that are actually filmed by most communities. Most communities really have their township board and not much else that's actually on TV, where we have a lot of commissions on TV. So,
well, and Brian, you're basically talking about moving it from Granicus
from
Minutes
Granicus
on
to
Demand
iCompass, right,
to
the Civic Web. But with the YouTube, the one thing advantage we get is we do get closed caption video now with YouTube. So that's definitely a positive, since we can't have that over cable, but we can have it with our YouTube channel. I've started updating a schedule for when we have a live broadcast, getting a new updated listing of when things are going to show on our cable channel. I know we kind of were in and out with that in the past. My goal is to keep that updated every time we have a live broadcast. The next day there'll be a new basically a station directory of what's going to be on and at what time. Everything will be on the hour or on the half hour. And it'll probably be about 4 meetings back. The last 4 live broadcasts will be the 4 we go with each time. I know we're having people that have problems with GI Connect. I'll move to the app now quickly. And what I've been telling everybody is make sure you've got your phone updated to the latest version. Make sure you have the new app loaded on your phone. And make sure your notifications are turned on. Once you have all that, if you're still not getting them, delete the app from your phone, turn off your phone, turn it back on, and then reload the app back on your phone. I just did that with our recreation director last week, and now she's up. She's got them back coming. Margie, our administrative assistant, same thing. She went through the same process. She wasn't getting them. Updated her phone, turned it off, got rid of the app completely, put it back on, and now she's getting them. So it's hard to relay that to many people that are having problems, but that seems to be the way to get it fixed. There is no certain version that it doesn't work for. I know I've heard a lot of rumors on Facebook about, iPhone 8s don't work or an Android doesn't work, or no, every version should work. Website. We'll be launching a new website. The goal is November 4th for the launch of the new website. It took me a while I had some things I needed to get updated on it. I think we're almost there now. I need some pictures I need to update, and we should be good to hit that target. And let's see, we've had a lot of phone calls about November election. We do not have a November election. Our next election will be March 10th, and that's the presidential primary. I just want to make sure people understand that. And I think I hit on everything, unless you guys have any questions for me.
We're looking forward to a seamless transition.
Should, right? The operative word, should. Thank you very much, Brian. That's the end of the clerk's report.
Mr. Treasurer.
Thanks, Brian. The investment report for the month of August shows $9,548,021 invested in various accounts. These accounts generated a total of $12,413 with an average interest rate of 1.31%. The summer tax bill due date of September 16th is now passed, and we've now collected about 96% of our total tax rolls, and the distributions to the county and the school have been completed. However, we will continue to collect summer tax payments with a late penalty that occurs monthly of 1%. Accurate amounts are available by calling my office or go online at grosseal.com treasures. We have a meeting with the Commerce Park Commission next Monday, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee liaison reports. Mr. Nelson.
Thanks, Brian. I'm going to give you the director's report. She's unable to be here tonight. Bear with me as I read this from my phone. My eyes are, not bad. CRC report, October 14th, 2019. Festival and Community Events Commission meeting for Wednesday, October 16th has been canceled. Number 2, the CRC meeting is Thursday, October 25th at 6 p.m. in this room. The Fall Festival this past weekend had over 250 visitors to the farm. Great event. Special thank you to the Girlsville Herb Society for the craft in the children's garden, and to all our trunk and treat participants, including Trenton Library, GI Police and Fire, and the Ghostbusters, Carl, and most importantly, the community participation. This Saturday, October 19th, costumes and cocktails at the farm. Purchase tickets online at girlsvillerecreation.com or at Water's Edge. Event starts at 7 p.m. This is the event that last year was in the hangar and moved over to the farm this year to see how it will work out over there. It was fine at the hangar, but we want to try it over there, so that's why we're doing that. And the senior lunch at Centennial Farm, Wednesday, October 23rd at noon. $10 advance tickets only, and free transportation if needed. Call for reservation at 734-675-2364. And follow Girls of Recreation on Facebook. One more thing I will share with you. It hasn't been brought up in quite a while, but Kim has updated me on the debt that's still owed to the township from the rink. It's currently at $36,000. Kim every year pays back more of it. So we're in the process of getting it zeroed out, Mr. Budny.
In my lifetime?
In your lifetime. That's my goal.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Move on, Mr. Bloetscher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have 3 reports from the 3 commissions. The first is the BPAC. Number 1, there was a bike to school event that was very successful. That was moved from Wednesday to Friday because of inclement weather, and yet we still had 160 students that participated in that. Approximately 160 students that chose to ride bikes to school that day. Everybody arrived and went home safely, and we're very thankful for all of you that paid attention on the roads to make sure that it was a safe event for everybody. Rebecca Klug was the director of that. She was just absolutely wonderful, coordinating with the police department and coordinating with the schools. Rebecca is new to the BPAC Commission, but she has certainly started off with a bang. It was a very successful event. The second thing is that BPAC is working on handing out bracelets for kids that will be lit at night so that they can travel safely as they do coming to and from school at the early hours as dark is approaching and after school. And we're going to be working on that with the police department and Chief Warnick. Regarding the open space greenways, I am very, very pleased to report that we did close finally on the Ferry Road acquisition. T&T will be starting the preliminary work on laying a trail forthwith. It is our goal to have a trail installed this year, at least as much as possible as weather permits. We need dry weather, so if everybody could work on that, say a prayer for some good dry weather, we can work on that. And the same thing goes with the Manchester Trail. There is a trail that is being laid out. I don't know if T&T will be able to get to that this year, but they're in the process of laying out a trail that will come from Park Lane, Manchester entrance to the woods, that will then proceed to connect with the existing trail and pull out again near the Meridian Elementary School. So that is all good stuff. We're expecting that trail work on that will begin this year as well. Finally, the police department, we have Our reserves did 178 hours of service in September. That includes the homecoming dance, football, the Riverview homecoming at the rec department. The guys and gals do a great job there. It is a wonderful service to the community. They do a very, very good job. Also, with that, I'd like to read the following statistics for everyone's benefit. With respect to the activity the police department had in September, we had 59 calls for animal service. We had 29 calls for alarms. Rescues were 44. We had 128 911 calls, and total calls 1,374. Also, with the self-initiated field activity, we are down to 1 OWI for the month of September. Dramatic improvement over what we've had from spring through summer. We had 119 verbal warnings that were issued during the month, and we issued 31 security notices for those people that have the garage door open or something else that shows that there's an invitation to criminal activity. I would also indicate that we have monthly training, as has been emphasized by the last 4 chiefs. This month we had Tactical Operations Training and Exposition attended by Officer Benson. Emergency Vehicle Operator was attended by Officers Canterbury and Brozick. Midwest Crisis Negotiators Training, September 4, 5, and 6, with Lieutenant Pelland attending. Mutual Aid Dive Training on September 11, 12, and 13, Officer Brozick. Street Legal, Reducing Lawsuits and Criminal Charges and Police Work, September 16th was Officer Brozick and Officer Beaudry. Internal Affairs Investigation, Complaint and Procedural Responsibilities was attended by Deputy Chief Harden and Sergeant Carmack. We also had Emergency Vehicle Operator Training, September 18th with Lieutenant Pellin, Officer Beaudry, Officer Carmack, and Officer C. Canteras. And FTO training, legal liability, and best practices was attended by Officer Carrico for 1 day. An emergency vehicle operator again on September 25th with Officers Carrico, Benson, and Delpias. Internal investigation function on September 25 and 26 with Chief Warnick, Deputy Chief Harden, Lieutenant Pelland, Detective Vasquez. Mutual Aid Dive training again September 26 with Officer Brozick. Accident Investigation and Reconstruction, September 30, with Officer C. Canteras. As you can see, our officers have been very busy with training, and our reserves have been very busy out on the streets. And we also have consideration of the following. The department has been presented with a request to consider allowing the use of golf carts on township roads. We had a very healthy discussion of that at the Police Commission meeting. There was a lot of comment, a lot of things to consider, and that will be brought to the Township Board as a study session in the future. Obviously, as we're moving forward into the late fall and winter months, we want to consider every aspect of that, and we'll have plenty of time to do so. There are some serious concerns about proceeding with the use of golf carts. Certainly has been done in other communities in Michigan and in Florida, but Grosse Ile is unique, and our roads are presenting quite a problem for everybody to be able to exit on and off and use the shoulders as may be necessary. But that will be the subject of a future meeting with the Township Board study session, and we can flesh that out and the board can indicate what its pleasure is. And finally, as Clerk O'Connor mentioned, there is the consideration that's coming before a special study session with the police department for the televising of police meetings. We meet on the second Tuesday of the month, and that study session will occur before our next meeting. And again, we will make a recommendation and bring that to the board. And then if the board elects, we can have a study session regarding that as well. But it will be just a recommendation, as everything else is that comes from the Township's Police Commission. That concludes my reports.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bloetscher. And Mr. Budny.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. ZBA meeting this month. We're actually going to have one. We have 2 appeals. That'll be Tuesday, October 22nd here in the boardroom. Our next question and answer session will be Wednesday, October 23rd. It will be our regular Q&A. It will not be we had talked at the last session of having some type of town hall meeting, but we are not going to do that. And lastly, I want to mention we will have our new waste hauling company starting Monday, November 18th. The big change is we're going from 5 days of collection to 2 days, Monday and Tuesday only. There was a very good article in the Groseal Grand this past, the latest issue of Groseal Grand, laying out everything that was going to take place. I do want to emphasize to the people who were leasing totes from Waste Management, they will be picking those cans up that last week that they pick up your garbage. They'll be picking up your leased garbage can also. So it'll be on you to get a new can. You can get it from Priority Waste, or you can go to Home Depot and buy one. But Waste Management will be picking up your leased garbage can. And that's all I have.
What, there's some some questions on recycling. We are still doing curbside.
We're still doing curbside, your little blue container. Probably the big change is we will not be taking glass. There is just no market for recycling glass. None of it doesn't go anywhere other than in the landfill. So it's not a decision we made just to not do it. It was a matter of nobody wants your glass, so we're not going to be doing that.
As we discussed.
And we will be coming out. There will be pamphlets coming out sent to every household explaining everything. We actually plan on doing an education at the schools on recycling. We're not stopping recycling. It's changing simply because of the market itself changing.
The reality is, as we were once told, just put everything in a recycle. We're going to recycle everything. Well, the reality was about 80% of what you put in your recycling bin was put into another truck and hauled to another landfill. So you were paying twice to move
it just
that
took
same
longer
refuse.
for it to
Just
get
took
to
longer.
the landfill.
So hopefully we're getting it down to something that is marketable and will keep the cost. Again, this is to keep your costs under control, provide the best service your dollars can afford. So anything else, Mr. Budny?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Move on to Mr. Malvesto.
I have nothing to offer this evening.
Okay, let's move on to Mr. Sorty.
Mr. Supervisor and board members, I just want to, as Mr. Bloetscher indicated to you, the closing did take place on the Ferry Road access to the open space. I think that for those of us involved, it was a rather lengthy process, but I know that we got it right, and we got it done efficiently, meaning, you know, money economically. We could have jumped the gun on a lot of things, run to court, do a whole bunch of things. Would have cost us a lot of money potentially, but we did do it right, and it was nice to see that if you kept doing the right things in the right process, that it worked out effectively. So the other thing I want to remind everybody is tonight that the proposals that you had in front of you for the demolition of the buildings, to remind you that we have several provisions in the township ordinances about buildings and what can, you know, encouraging the township, encouraging owners to maintain their buildings under certain levels. The buildings that were presented tonight were dangerous buildings. There's a process to go through. You know, the experienced professionals are making a determination that those buildings are unsafe, not only for individuals to go in there and work or perform the work, but for our public safety, you know, for our police and fire, so that if they are called in one of those scenes, that they are protected as well. So I just want to remind everybody, sometimes it comes across maybe when you do these dangerous building demos that the township's trying to clean things up and do things. We're not in a blight situation where we're trying to remove stuff. I mean, these are buildings that have been determined by professionals to be dangerous, and we want to make sure not only that we're protecting the residents of the township, but our police and fire personnel. So, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Assorti. Let's see, with the manager excused tonight, my turn. I'd like to begin by thanking Angela for her DDA update and all the events coming up. Just a quick comment, we had Paint the Town Red this past weekend, and or the weekend before. What really surprised me when I was there, the scavenger hunt that was put on by Kiwanis, and the number of people who commented, I never knew this shop was here. I never knew this was there. So a lot of people found a lot of new things right here on Macomb Street, which I will call that a success. And thank you, Kiwanis, for putting that on. Fall Fest was this past weekend, and I want to thank the police reserves for being there at that event also. My 4-year-old grandson is always fascinated by police cars. So far, he's only been in the front seat. So we'll hope that record remains. Let's see, you talked about the Halloween party. We said goodbye to some members, and we do it in the consent agenda, but I really want to say, and I'm sure all the board will agree with me, to say thanks to Ms. Jenny Gatchell, who had departed the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Commission, and to Trish Albin, who left Festival Commission. So, ladies, thank you for your support over the years, for your help. Best of luck, and to welcome Teresa Weeks to the Greenways and Open Space. She lives on Ferry, and she's excited about showing people where the trail is going to be. So, good job for everybody there. Hazardous waste. Okay, we're moving around to refuse and hazardous waste. Wayne County. Actually, I've got the flyer here, and somebody wants to put this on the Elmo, and we'll get this. I think Brian's got it on the website, and he'll get it on Connect. So there's your hazardous waste, Wayne County Community College District. It's from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if my past experience is the earlier you get there, it gets real busy. So get there early. Once you get there, you'll be amazed how efficient the county has that set up. It really is quite a process. But that's your next opportunity to get rid of hazardous waste. They're listed, and it'll be on our website. We approved the Halloween trick-or-treating hours, October 31st to 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And gosh, there's going to be all sorts of kids in masks and stuff running. It gets dark early, so I'm going to ask you to be careful out there. And Chief, in terms of, we always have concern about safety issues for the kids with their trick or treat. Anything we offer of the police department? Okay, well, Chief, so far it's always been a safe event. I don't know of any serious incidents, but I'll let the chief take it from there.
Just a few safety tips. For the children, always wear bright clothing, reflective, flame retardant. Wear short clothing that prevents tripping. Sneakers, comfortable shoes. Face paint. Avoid the mask. I remember when I was younger, we always had those funny little masks and you never could see. I don't know if they have them as much as they used to, but I think they wear a lot of makeup now. Floppy hats, wigs, they always go over the eyes. Also, children do not wear the long, baggy, loose costumes or oversized shoes, the clown shoes, I guess. Toy weapons. Use costume knives, swords that are flexible, not rigid. And the pets, that's another big thing. Everybody has pets and dogs. Don't pet the pets, because you never know. They might scare them. They don't want to bite you, but they get scared. Pedestrian safety. Children stay within familiar areas, surroundings. Parents should establish a route for children. Children should always use flashlights and stay on the sidewalks. Stay away from the streets. This is the biggest one. I remember since I was young, my children were young. Cross at the corners. Don't run between cars. I think that's the number one thing myself. It's dark here. Also for the motorists that are driving through the city, the township, drive slow, watch carefully for the children. There are also many groups that have house Halloween parties. Parents can consider these also. Never go into the homes, no matter what. That's a no-no for the children. Stay on the porch. Just go to houses that have the outside lights on, to the porch lights. That's what we were always taught, and I think that's the way it should always be. Never talk to strangers, never get in strangers' cars. If you see something that doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, it's not right. So don't do it. If you ever have any problems, always call 911. We'll have, the reserves will be out. We'll have our full squad out. I'll be out there. Children should always travel in small groups with their parents or an authorized adult chaperone. Children should always know their home phone numbers, parents' cell numbers. I think they do. They probably know more than the adults do now, these children. They know everything about phones. Have their names, addresses attached to their costumes. That's a good one. I've never heard of that one, but that's a good idea. Children should always bring their treats home before eating them so parents can expect them. That was always a big thing when we were younger. If anything's open, just throw it out. There's enough candy for everyone. We'll buy you candy. Come to the station, we'll buy candy for you. Plus, we usually do always give out candy also. If you have any questions, always call us. Or bring it to the police department. We'll check it out for you. Always keep the porch lights on. This is for the adults. Driveways illuminated. There's always cracks in driveways and sidewalks. Homeowners, make sure your sidewalks or walkways are clear of debris. Don't want the children to trip. And the last thing, if in doubt, just throw it out. Like I said, there's enough candy for everyone. And like I say, if you think it's not right, it's not, call us. Everybody has a feeling. Thank you.
Chief, thanks. Again, that's the last holiday that's pretty much just for kids. Let's keep it safe for them. That's why we're parents. Yeah, we have the Hooray for Halloween parade the Saturday before, 26th. Again, we'll get the word out to control the traffic. There's always the 90% who don't get the word that there's a parade going on, and they wonder why they can't cross at Park Lane or make it down Macomb Street, but we'll have the reserves out. So that'll be fun. Next bridge closure, this is the really good stuff. The 25th of October from 9 to 3. Hopefully it'll open early. We'll get that out on Connect. We'll get push notifications out to you. But October 25th, it's another inspection of the measurement of the piers. Unfortunately, I have no new development on bridge repairs, bridge schedules. I requested a press release from the county so that I can get you the official county position on what's happening when. Their press secretary, Miss Lewis, is out of the country at the moment, but she's pretty good about getting them out. So I'll get that to you as soon as I get it. In our last meeting, our big concern is they're scheduling repairs at Jefferson Avenue from Sibley to Pennsylvania, which would be right where all the traffic leaving the toll bridge would be going on to Jefferson. So we're going to use every means available to convince the county not to be doing that repair at the same time our Grosse Ile Parkway bridge is down. Wish me luck. Let's see what the manager usually says. Township offices will be closed on the 11th of November to recognize Veterans Day. Let's see, the lighthouse repairs are almost complete. It's a surprisingly complex job due to its waterfront location. It had to be cocooned to keep in all the debris and paint scrapings, but almost done. Trustee Bloetscher mentioned the golf carts. Let us know your thoughts on a golf cart community. I know we have some traffic conflicts and safety concerns, but it still seems like kind of a neat idea. So let me know what your thoughts on that. Let's see, outside the township, our Congresswoman Debbie Dingell held an environmental town hall at the Wyandotte Boat Club last Monday, and I was surprised that we were prepared. We had experts prepared to cover almost any topic, but the biggest topic was water quality. Unfortunately, we had 4 water quality experts there. So I think we got most of the questions answered, but it was unlike a previous public hearing over in Trenton. This one was, everyone was very polite, respectful of other people's speaking time. I thought it went very well. It was very educational, and I want to thank her for taking the time to host this. I think she answered she brought in experts to answer a lot of questions. And Let's see. One of the best parts of my job this morning is I welcomed three new homeowners to Grosse Ile Township. They had moved from other communities, and they'd picked Grosse Ile out of all the other places they could be, so I was glad to welcome aboard. And that, I think things are dropping into place. With that concludes my comments. We'll open it to public comment. You know the rules, 3 minutes, any topic, just have to identify yourself. Mr. Zalasko.
Bob Zalasko, Blauville. How you doing? We'd like to respond to some comments made by Supervisor Loftus this past week in the Grosse Ile Grand, the article titled, Deer Call Issues Lead to Commission Shakeup. In this article, Supervisor Loftus reiterates accusations that were already addressed by Mr. Jarecki and I during the September 23rd board meeting. Therefore, with only 3 minutes to respond up here, we have no option of repeating the presentation now. Supervisor Loftus has chosen to continue his quest for a scapegoat for mistakes that bear no fault on the Commission, Mike Jarecki, or I. In the beginning, he claimed that the failed deer call program was the fault of the past chief of police. Now he projects the blame regarding the deer call issues on Mr. Jarecki and myself. Just as we were penalized for calling him out when he again violated township ordinance and bypassing the commission on the appointment of the new chief of police. Either we have to support his personal opinion or we're told that we're dismissed. To continuously misuse one's power and authority to overrule township ordinances, policies, and procedures exemplifies poor leadership. If one truly wants to be respected as a leader, they need to first take responsibility for their own actions and inactions. Constantly seeking a scapegoat demonstrates a complete absence of true leadership and lack of integrity. If Supervisor Loftus continues to make false accusations upon our character and performance, Mr. Jarecki and I will respond and keep the record straight. For those who wish to view our presentation of the September 23rd board meeting, it is presently available on Grosse Ile TV and will also be made available on the Facebook page of the Grosse Ile Civic Association. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zalasko. Other public comment? All right, you see any? None offered. I'm sorry, Miss. Judy, raise your hand. I don't know if you want to talk or not.
No. I was just deciding whether I was going to say something or not. But I just have a couple things.
Okay, we know the rules. Identify yourself.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Judy Maiga, M-A-I-G-A. I live on Lafayette. I had a question about the laws have changed that anybody can absentee vote now. Yes. So when some cities, when you put on hold, that's like on the recording as a way of getting it out to residents on a constant basis, because a lot of people don't realize that still. And it's not, I'm just saying, I'm wondering if the township is going to do anything in particular to get that word out more, that anybody of any age can absentee vote. And I wondered also if that would affect the budget for, I know we don't have a ton of people here, but if 80% of people decide to absentee vote this time, is it going to take longer or need more people that night of the election to count those ballots? So would you have to budget for more people or more staff? Because you can't count them until the election is over, correct?
No, so our plans are already in progress. We're going to have 2 absentee ballot counting boards on election night. We will continue to have the in-person voting precincts, but we've added the numbers of people we will have actually counting absentee ballots on election day.
Okay.
And they can start earlier, but they can start counting the ballots earlier, but again, can't release any information till after 8 o'clock.
I see, okay.
We will be recruiting poll inspectors to be doing that. The process is very similar to what they do at the polls, except of course there's no voters present, but the counters get sequestered in a building. We have, I think, provided extra tabulators to staff that board, and we'll see how it goes in March. That'll be our first run of this, and then if adjustments need to be made, of course, we'll do that toward the next elections. But we don't foresee too many problems. Already more people have been voting absentee even in this last election than is common, and so I think we're well poised to be ready for it.
Awesome.
But I like the idea of adding a message.
Yeah, like
and
while you're
if we
while
can,
you're on hold.
it might be something that we can look into.
Thank you
if we
very
can do
much.
that.
I
Yep. Thank you
appreciate
for
that.
bringing it up.
Okay. And it wouldn't be a board meeting with me here if I didn't bring up the McCall Steel site. So I just want to reiterate again my desire to have some sort of, I mentioned it at the Q&A, but you were not all there, but perhaps a committee of citizens could be formed that would work with citizens from other local riverfront communities who are going to be impacted by what happens at that site, with a board member liaison to that committee. And we could do whatever it is we need to do to try to get a voice at the table to reiterate to Trenton city officials again and again and again that the strong public opinion here is that we do not want an intermodal shipping port at that site. I realize they have the final say. It's a little unnerving that we are at the, basically what 6 or 7 people decide. And it's very strange to me that that zoning request was taken off the table until after the election that's going to happen in Trenton. That doesn't smell right. But it makes me nervous. And I don't want them to just think, well, we haven't really heard anything, so I guess everything's okay. So I'm going to make that request again, that be considered, that the township be proactive and vocal against an intermodal shipping port beyond the resolution that I know you passed. And again, I thank you for that. But I don't want to take the pressure off them in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I'll certainly pass that along to Mayor Stack and Mayor Swift. The zoning, just to, if it assuages your fears any, the zoning, they're revamping all the zoning in the city, primarily in well, I was told they have to keep in mind the fact that the DTE plant is closing too. They want to have a rezoning done in place to handle not only McLouth but the pending closure and demolition of DTE. So it's a broader brush other than trying to dodge an election. Although I can't speak for all their.
I don't think it was done solely for that, but it's convenient that nobody has to take a public stand on it until after. And my last thing was, I had brought up at the meeting too, I wondered if the township ever considered the installation of solar panels on the buildings that are publicly owned here. At least getting.
We did at one time. That had been
had been looked at.
Investigated.
Part of my call to you tomorrow.
Okay.
But yeah, that had been looked at. It didn't. Economically, it didn't work out for the township.
If you don't. I won't go into a
but
lot
however,
of detail about it, but was it more than 5 years ago?
However, I did ask the township manager to look into it again because it was some time ago.
Yeah, they've come down and there's federal grants. I don't.
Right.
So, all right. Well, just a consideration. There's a lot. It would be an awesome thing to be a model community. I mean, I think we do a lot here as far as environmentally sound things, but to be a leader in more of them would be awesome. We don't have a lot of time left in this.
All right. Oh, sorry, Miss.
Just to add to that conversation for the board, DTE is very interested in pursuing alternative energy models, and especially solar and wind, and they built one of the largest solar installations out in Lapeer in just the last couple of years. But the laws have changed too about residents generating their own solar power and buying it, selling it to the grid and so forth, which has kind of changed the economics. But I think that times have changed enough that this is something we probably should look at again. And also, I remember at the Q&A, Trustee Budny brought up the aesthetics of solar. And I think that there have been a lot of changes made in that regard as well. And my own personal opinion, of course, is that a solar panel still looks better than a smokestack, but you know, it's what power does it bring to us, and how well can they get it to the grid. And so, but I think it wouldn't hurt for us to look at it again.
Awesome, I
And
appreciate it.
another thing I've had people ask is, you know, and I'm trying to push this a little bit, is that we look into installing a charging station for electric cars, either here at Township Hall or at one of our buildings, because increasingly Grosse Ile residents are buying electric cars.
And DTE is offering incentives
Yes.
to businesses for installing those.
Exactly.
And possibly to townships, so.
Yep. And why should Dunkin' Donuts have all
Yeah,
the fun?
I mean, downtown Royal Oak has them all over the place, outside their businesses, so that would be, you know, come have dinner on Macomb and charge your car.
Charge your car, absolutely.
Your credit card.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mega. Let's see, just for administrative purposes, minus the time we were talking, you were at 3 minutes. No, it's okay.
I have a question.
Malvesto.
Derek, you heard the subject that we just brought up about solar panels for electric here at the township. Would there be an issue because of the direction that a solar panel would face to get the most usage out of the sun? Would there be any kind of a problem with reflections in regards to planes landing or taking off?
Oh, that'd probably be a better question for Mike, but.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize, Mike. Yeah.
Well, initially, that was the thought, was to put them on hangar. Yeah, hangar 1.
I have in the past actually had proposals and looked into solar panels. The state of Michigan, as you're aware, we also don't get a lot of sunny days. That doesn't help some of the cost-benefit analysis. But there are a lot of limitations on airports and within a smaller proximity. Further off, I mean, once you get outside the runway approaches, there aren't really any jurisdiction or issues with that. What you don't want to have is somebody coming in on final approach in an airplane or a helicopter and be blinded. So they have to do a very extensive study on the angles and the reflections that come off of those. Ann Arbor actually did a development of solar panels, Ann Arbor Airport. I believe it was several acres, but it took almost 2 years to get that study done. But that is within the airport complex. They're angled outside. Their runways kind of run like this, and they're in the bank facing, I think that's to the southeast, away from both the approaches. So it's something that's possible, and we've looked at in the past. I don't think I've looked at it, I guess I'll say, in the last probably 2 years. But we have had some proposals and discussion in the past. But no, as far as we'd probably have to do, my engineer would probably have to do a small study on you know, how far out from the airport we'd have to go on that, but it wouldn't cover like the whole island, I would imagine, or anything like that.
No, my thought was if they were to be, you know, mounted on one of the hangars or something like that in direct, you know, right here on the property itself, would there be a problem with
Absolutely,
reflection?
there is. It even
it's not meant to.
Yeah,
but it's
something that has to be
Yep,
considered.
it would have to be considered before you'd go into a long.
Correct. Our newest hangar that went up on the field was that 2 years ago, the helicopter hangar. It's about an 8,000 square foot building. The owner of that building did look at solar when he was coming together with the plans and was not able to make it work just with his operations and the proximity to our runway.
Thanks. Just a little.
Yep. Anything else?
You'll indulge me for just a second. Since we're talking about alternative energy plans, one of the things that was recently brought by my son, who's studying marine engineering, is using water current to generate. And that might be actually something, given the currents in the Detroit River, that, you know, somebody at some point might look at in this area.
Sure.
But,
And there's been a lot of money invested in that industry, mostly ocean tidal is where it's
right.
been invested. But, you know, that's not to say that
But rivers that have heavy currents are also candidates. I think the key is with alternative energies, it's not just one, right? You're not going to always have sunny days, like you said. It's not always going to be windy, but if you make a collection of different alternatives, then you're always covered. So, thank you.
Right, we're really reaching far for a township board meeting. Solve what other world problems can we solve, Mr. Karmazin?
Greg Karmazin. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the Grosse Ile Civic Association, also a resident of Clinton Township, and a payer of taxes on East River. First of all, I wanted to start off with a positive praise for some things the township's doing. We, the Civic Association, very much likes the new web platform with the videos for the township meetings. From what we've seen so far, that looks very good. Looks like it has a lot of promise. Attended the police commission meeting earlier in the week, and or last week was, and I was certainly impressed that Clerk O'Connor said that the township is going to use this new platform to update the minutes for many of the commissions that have not had minutes posted in the past. I think in particular we talked about the police commission, didn't have minutes. I think the latest minutes that were on there or the oldest minutes on there were from April and none from 2018. So hopefully the new platform will have minutes going back as far back as some of the other commissions. Going on to a couple other things that were mentioned tonight, the idea of televising the police commission, fire commission meetings, I think that's a good idea. We support that. Certainly there's some sensitivity there, but you know, these study sessions I think can work that out, and many other communities do televise these types of meetings. Moving on to another topic, Supervisor Loftus I think did a fine job as moderator at that environmental town hall meeting, and you know, following up on the comments of Judy, the McClough site was a topic there that was of much interest, and unfortunately, given there were so many topics to talk about, it didn't get as much attention as I think it should, and there's certainly ample, I think, opportunity for more discussion about that, especially on what the non-residential possibilities for that site under the standards being used. A lot of people don't realize this, but that standard that's being used will actually accommodate office, commercial, recreational, a wide range of non-industrial activities.
Pretty much everything right to residential is where it stops.
But unfortunately, there's been some narrative from some officials, particularly Wayne County, talking about that site, that it must be industrial, and that's just not the case under that standard. A couple other things. You mentioned the Wayne County project on Jefferson. I just encourage you, and I've said this before, please do whatever you can to get Bridge Road repairs on that, because that situation between the Toll Bridge and Toll Bridge Plaza and Jefferson is just getting worse. It's been, you know, for over 10 years it's gotten worse. Golf carts, we've been running on the Civic Association Facebook page a very interactive poll on the golf carts, and over 700 people have responded. Right now I think it's about 53% in favor and 47% opposed. So a lot of interest in that, and I think that's great that you're going to have study sessions to look into that. And then finally, as Bob Zalasko mentioned, we are going to post his statement from September 23rd, responding to a number of issues that have been raised. And I would certainly say, and again, repeat, that we've invited Supervisor Loftus or Trustee Bloetscher if they want to provide any additional statements or information. We'd be glad to post that, let the public, you know, see any information that you have about the issue, and let people decide what they want to think about it. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Karmazin. Any other public comment? Give you a little extra time, Greg. You're on a roll. You're welcome. No other comment? That closes out tonight's meeting, our business. That's a motion to adjourn. Second by Trustee Bloetscher. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. Thanks for coming, everyone, tonight. Next meeting will be November 4th. And we will have a study session ahead of that one also. So, see you on the 4th.